It was a sultry summer night when it all began. The small town slept in silence, except for the distant sound of crickets and the creaking of ancient trees. Soundtrack: ambient nighttime sounds. Crickets, gentle wind. Effect: a faint hiss of an old VHS tape, giving a sense of remembrance. I was 8 years old when my parents decided to move into an old house near downtown. A house too cheap for its size, the neighbors said, but no one explained the reason for the low price. The first night, something woke me, a sound coming from upstairs. 3 sharp knocks, knock, 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 as if someone were calling, but room 39 remained empty. My father said it was just the wind, but the wind doesn't have footsteps. And that morning, I heard footsteps, slow, shuffling, crossing the hallway until they stopped in front of my door. The doorknob turned slowly. I froze, holding my breath. The door opened a crack, revealing only darkness, and from within the darkness, a childish voice whispered, "Can you hear it too?" The next day, I told my mother. She looked at me with that tense smile adults give when they don't want to show fear. I said no one had lived up there since the fire. Fire? She changed the subject. That night I went to sleep in my parents' room, but the noise came again. Only this time, it came from the closet, as if something was trying to get out. My father flung open the door, and nothing. Just the smell of mildew and something sweet, almost like the perfume of old flowers. He locked the closet, but before he left the room, I heard him mutter softly, "Not this again." The next morning, a neighbor came to bring bread, a man with hollow eyes who stared at me and asked, "Do you sleep in room 39? My father interrupted sharply, "That room is locked." But that night I woke up again. The sound came from within the walls. A voice was crying. It sounded like a child's. It whispered between sobs, "I just wanted to play." The next day I found an old box in the attic. It contained burned dolls, a notebook, and a rusty key. The notebook's cover read, "Property of Elisa, room 39. And that's how it all began. The voice, the echoes, and the dreams that seemed all too real. But the worst was yet to come. Because room 39, I never wanted to be locked in. That night the wind seemed heavier. The silence in the house was so thick that I could hear the creaking of the wood, as if the house were breathing with me. I opened Elisa's notebook. The pages were stained as if they had been wet with tears. There were drawings of a girl smiling, and then the same drawing with her face traced in black pencil. On the last page, a sentence written in shaky letters. "Mommy told me not to play with the man in the hat, but he said I would never be alone again." I began to smell smoke, the same one from the closet. But it wasn't coming from outside, it was coming from within the walls. And along with the smell came the sound, that muffled, childish laugh, calling my name. I ran downstairs, but the house was different. The hallway seemed longer. The clock on the wall was running backward. I called out for my parents, but the answer came from upstairs. "Go back to your room, Daniel. They're already asleep." The voice didn't belong to either of them. It was deep, calm, and familiar. The same timbre as the recording I later found on the cassette tape. On the tape, a woman cried and said, "He keeps coming into her room. I locked the door, but he always comes back. The girl, she talks to him in the mirror." I went to room 39. The door was ajar. Inside, toys were lined up, covered in dust. In the center of the room, a broken oval mirror, reflecting only darkness. I walked closer. In the reflection, I saw something behind me. A tall figure with a hat and sunken eyes, no defined face. When I turned, the mirror shattered on its own. I ran to my parents' room. The bed was empty, but the pillows were still warm. On the floor, sooty footprints led down the hallway. I went downstairs, and there they were, standing in the living room, staring at the wall, eyes open but lifeless. And on the wall, written in charcoal, "He's back." The ground shook, the light flickered, and for a moment I saw Elisa standing beside them, smiling. She was holding the key, the same one that opened room 39. I tried to run, but the doors were locked. The house felt alive, breathing, pulsing with me. And from upstairs I heard his voice, deep, soft, calling. "You opened something you shouldn't have, Daniel." It was at that moment that I realized that house was never mine. It was just waiting for someone to replace what it lost. And now, the echo of room 39 was inside me. That night was the last I remember clearly. After that, everything blends into fragments of sound and light. But I remember the cold, a cold that came from within the walls. The whole house seemed to pulse. The floor shook, the mirrors vibrated, and dark water dripped from the ceiling. The living room clock ticked too fast, and in the midst of it all, I heard Elisa's laughter. I went to room 39. The door was now wide open. A strange heat came from inside, as if the fire of the past still burned within. But what I saw was worse. The room was covered in drawings. Entire walls were chalked, depicting figures of a girl, a tall man, and a faceless family. On the floor were burned dolls and an overturned chair. In the middle of the room, the cracked mirror reflected something that wasn't me. It reflected the man in the hat. He was smiling. And behind him, my parents, standing motionless, like soulless shadows. I ran, screamed, banged on the walls, but the windows no longer led to the street. On the other side, there was only the room. The same room, repeated over and over again, like a mirror within a mirror. On the floor, Elisa's notebook lay open. The last words were written in something dark, blood perhaps. He lives in memories, and every new resident needs to remember. Suddenly I heard footsteps behind me, but they weren't his. It was a child. When I looked, I saw Elisa standing in the doorway. She was holding my teddy bear. "I tried to warn him," she said. "He never sleeps." Before I could answer, the ground opened up. An orange flash like wildfire engulfed everything, and I woke up, inside the mirror. Now I saw the house from the outside. I saw room 39 and someone new coming in. A smiling family carrying boxes, unaware of what awaited them. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I banged on the mirror, but no one saw me. And behind me, a shadow moved, placing its hand on my shoulder. The shadow whispered in my ear, "Now it's your turn to stay." And for the first time, I understood what Elisa meant. The house didn't haunt people. People fed the house. Since then, every time someone passes the abandoned house, they swear they hear voices coming from the broken windows. Some say it's the wind. Others, that it's a boy calling for help, coming from inside the mirror. And if one day you enter that house and see a door with the number 39 on it, don't open it, because the echo never dies. It just waits for the next resident.